So just as soon as we get the high sign from...
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, Kufar Akbar, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Crescent Discussion Group. This is a blog talk radio show dedicated to rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. But not tonight. We're here every Tuesday evening at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time and Sundays at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I want to thank my brother Paul for hosting the show on Sunday while I was busy in Kafiristan North, taking care of some family business. And I watched part of the show this morning, and you guys had way too much fun without me. I felt kind of inadequate. I was like, man, I need to be a show.
Oh, it was fun. It was fun.
And you guys went 2 hours and 42 minutes. I mean, anyway, I appreciate you doing that. And who won, by the way? Who won the Jeopardy contest?
Isa. And second place were Darcy and Connie.
You let them play as a team?
Yeah, they came a little bit late. Connie came a little bit late.
They were ratophobes, man. The whole thing was rigged.
Who else came late?
How's it going?
Dominic
that was
came
a fun
late.
game. It was a fun game. Jeopardy. Yeah. I'm surprised you know about all that stuff, but can I get your book? Can I buy a signed book from you?
Oh yeah. Signed book? Yeah.
I want a signed book.
Oh, definitely. We can. I couldn't find you on Facebook, so you have to look for me, and I'll definitely do what I can over there.
If he gets a signed book, why can't I have a signed book? I've got all 4 of your books. All for crying out loud. None of them's your signature in it.
I want one too.
Oh, we have to meet up. We have to meet up one of these days, Eric.
Yeah, I guess so. All right, look who's here. Mr. Steve is here. Steve was on. Who were you on with this week, Steve? I saw. Oh, Thaddeus on Reason Answered.
Thaddeus is awesome. He's great.
Yeah, Thaddeus is good people. I really like watching his stuff. He's got this sense of humor that is just absolutely over the top funny, and the way he comes across. What do you listen? Are you listening to a radio station right now?
No, I'm in my car though.
Is it a hybrid or is it a gas guzzling?
No,
carbon footprint?
Because I'm a Christian, I can't tell you what I think of it, but just that I said that, you probably have an idea what I think of it. But.
Yeah, I get it. We went to Boston a couple of weeks ago when we rented a hybrid, and I never driven a hybrid before because when you put it in gear, the engine doesn't come on. And when you
Yeah,
start it
that's
up, the
right.
engine doesn't come up. You just go. And I'm like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And it's actually kind of cool. And if you're in town and in traffic, it's, you're just running off of battery power and you're going on that. And then when you need to go switch to the engine, it switches to the engine. The engine had plenty of, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I ain't gonna spend $75,000 on one, but they are kind of cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
let's go ahead and get into. I'm going to put you on mute, Steve, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
All right. So today's topic is a political one. And Rad and I, we had discussed this before about kind of moving towards a political bent on Tuesday evenings, which I'm still not I'm not completely on board with it. However, tonight we're going to move in that direction. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the decline of the American soul and how we're becoming unmoored from our traditional Christian values, Christian foundations, and it's reflected in all kinds of different parts of society that we can see today. And the first one that I wanted to point out is our military. Hold on, let me bring up this article. How do I do this again? Share. Rad, what are you doing here? Are you going to get on one of them things?
He's getting on the scooter.
I'm on the scooter, guys.
Okay, do you got a helmet?
No. Helmets are for sissies. I don't need my helmet.
Yeah, we don't need no stinking helmet. My head is.
There we go.
Okay, so
I got a little bell, man. I got a bell.
All right, I wanted to.
How's it looking? Looking good?
Sideways.
Let me bring it up. Bring it up. Let's see. I don't see your bell. Where's your bell? Let me see your bell again. Okay. Don't hurt yourself with the. Oh golly, that's pretty sad. We went through. When I was teaching, I would take kids to Washington, D.C., and just as soon as, I don't know if it was just as soon as Obama was elected, but it was during his administration, we're standing besides the Washington Monument. And here comes this bike riding buffoon up the sidewalk, ringing his bell. Ring, 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 ring. Make way for the bicycle. Make way for the bicycle. And I felt like I had an umbrella in my hand. I felt like sticking it in his spokes and watching. It's just a bunch of 8th grade kids. Leave them alone, you douche canoe. But he had to sit there and ring his bell.
It's dangerous to ride on the sidewalks. It's really dangerous to ride on the sidewalks, man.
If you're going to sit there and try to claim some type of right of way over 8th grade kids and then sit there and yell at them, yeah, you doggone right it's dangerous, because I'm going to stick my umbrella in your spokes and watch you flip. All right, so the article that I have here deals with military recruiting and, whoops, wrong one, sorry. Okay, Rad, I got to mute you, I think, because
all right.
Where are you? There we go. Okay. I can't hear his bell that way. Somebody else has got Steve came on.
Somebody's got
okay,
the
so
fish thing going.
Yeah, I think I fixed it. Okay, so military recruitment. Now, this is the military. The United States military is kind of like one of those bellwether markers of where our country is at. And when we look at the people who serve, the type of people who serve, and the environment that's created within the military, it gives you a good measure of where our country is. And I can speak from personal experience, of course, how that changed when Slick Willie became president. When Bill Clinton became president, the standard, if we look at the standards, how we hold, what type of standard we set for the commander-in-chief, the chief executive officer of our country, it went in the gutter under him. When you talk about the morality or lack thereof of this guy, if you look at Joe Biden ran for president. I believe it was 1988. He ran for president, had to withdraw from the race because the allegation of him plagiarizing papers while he was in college came up, and
Yes.
we were not going to have a president who cheated in college. But then the very next thing that we got in 92 was a president who would cheat repeatedly, even in the Oval Office, on his wife. And one of the first policies that Clinton initiated was the don't ask, don't tell policy. This is the policy that where recruiters, part of the recruiting process is to ask a potential applicant several questions on a form. And one of those forms was, are you a homosexual? And so what the military did is they just simply removed that question. So they weren't asking people if they were homosexual. Well, these people that were then therefore being previously disqualified were not now going to be disqualified. Why? Because now we aren't asking the question. When they entered the service, they would still think that they could practice their homosexuality. And homosexuality, according to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, is against the law. You can't be sodomizing your roommate and still be a soldier. So they would prosecute and pursue these people. Well, it got to the point where so many of these people that were homosexuals that coming into the military service were being processed out for homosexual behavior. They came out with the subsequent policy. And the subsequent policy was don't pursue. So don't ask, don't tell, and don't pursue complaints against your roommate who's ogling you while you're getting dressed in the morning.
Ugh.
Think about that for a second. You have no choice in who your roommate is. You're assigned rooms. So if your roommate is a homosexual and has an attraction to men, I don't want that guy ogling me, to be honest with you. I mean, it isn't that I'm homophobic or anything along those lines, but I don't want him looking at me in that way. So these people, these guys that were homosexuals were being harassed in the military. So it went from a policy of don't ask, don't tell, don't pursue, and do not harass. And it's gotten to the point today where the military soldiers are being required to undergo training that celebrates homosexuality, and not only homosexuality, but transgenderism, because that's one of the first orders that Biden signed into policy when he became president, was to allow people who were transgendering into the military service. So now you have a military service that is missing its recruiting goals, and everybody's like, well, why? Why are we missing our recruiting goals? Now, the fact is that the military service is not just missing its recruiting goals. It is not a disaster. It is a catastrophe. The military, this is July, what's today? July 12th. Okay, July 12th is at 40% of its recruiting goals for fiscal year 2022. And the fiscal year, folks, does not end December 31st. The fiscal year ends September 30th. The military is sitting at 10 percentage points less than half of the recruiting goal. Nobody wants to go in the military anymore, and for all kinds of good reasons. This article deals with, a lot of the reasons why people aren't going in the military. Number one, and I didn't realize this, 70% of the United States population is not qualified to enter the military. 70%.
How are they not qualified?
Now, that is a huge percentage. That's 7 out of 10. Who's this? That's Connie. That's 7 out of 10 teenagers or potential people are not eligible. And that can be for all kinds of different reasons.
I was going to say,
aptitude,
are they all Republicans?
I don't know. Okay, it's aptitude, They cannot score well on the standardized test, the ASVAB. Physical, many of them, a great percentage of them are overweight. We have this chronic overweightness. Is that the word? What's the word I'm looking for here? Overweight.
Obesity.
Chronic obesity in our children today, so they're not able to enter the service, and also morally. There's a lot of things that would get you disqualified for going into the service, and it also greatly limits the number or the type of job security clearances and things of this nature that you can get into, or that you require once you get into the military. So 70% of the American population cannot get into the military for whatever reason. And in this article, it's telling us that in order to get into the military, you have to have at a minimum, a high school diploma. Now, under certain exceptions, they'll accept people who have a GED, a general equivalency diploma, and that indicates that they never finished high school. But if you have a general equivalency diploma, a GED, you are severely limited on the types of jobs that you can, do while you're in the military. But now they're allowing people without even GEDs to come in the military. Now, this is what we would call desperation. The military is getting desperate for people to come in and join. And you're going to see a reduction not only in the moral standards, the physical standards, and the aptitude standards of people going to the military in order to even get close to that goal. And here's the reason the military needs to hit these goals is because if you don't have new applicants coming in, who is going to fill those entry-level positions?
Attrition, it becomes the big issue.
That's on the other end. But what I'm talking about is while you are in, you have people that are stellar soldiers that are looking to get promoted. Well, if you get promoted, one of the benefits of being promoted is you don't have to do that crap that you had to do when you were a private or private first class or a specialist. Now you're a sergeant. You don't have to do that crap. Well, who's going to do that crap now? Well, it's the sergeant who's going to have to do it. So it doesn't matter if you get promoted or not. So you're going to have the demoralization of those people that are already in the military. The reasons cited for not going in of that 30%, and oh, by the way, only 9% of that 30% have stated that they would serve. Only 9% of the 30% that are qualified said that they would serve, be willing to serve. The rest of them said, I don't want to have anything to do with the military. And here's 3 reasons that they've listed. The Afghanistan withdrawal. What kind of idiot shuts down a secure air base with all of those jihadi prisoners in it, and then moves his soldiers to be extracted out of an air base in downtown Kandahar?
And then tells 300 soldiers left behind, you're no longer soldiers.
And leaves all the civilians behind too. What kind of idiot does that? Well, your current dementia-ridden commander-in-chief did that. And you have a SecDef and you have a Joint Chiefs that even after this made no apologies for it. No apologies for what happened with the withdrawal and leaving all of those people and how it was done, conducted, because this was on their watch. This was their policy. This is how it rolled out. And nobody got fired for it. The only person that got fired for it was a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps who actually spoke up. I see Sharon's got a staff sergeant emblem there.
That's what I was when I got out.
Oh, well, hua. How do you say that?
Well, you got to sound like a seal, or something like that.
Okay, well. My Marine brothers and sisters, I love you. But we got all kinds of jokes that we don't tell about you guys on the show. One of the places, this is off topic, off story. One of the places that I went to when I was stationed with the 82nd Airborne Division down at Fort Bragg in North Carolina, and we went on an operation at Camp Lejeune. Now, Camp Lejeune is in North Carolina also, and we jumped into Camp Lejeune. And I was an MP, and we covered down on our vehicles, and we set up security for the drop zone, and then they brought in the main body, and this was C-141 after 141. One of this whole stick C-141 dropped in the wood line at Camp Lejeune, and if you know anything about the wood line at Camp Lejeune, it is jungle. I mean, it's just, and we spent a day and a half getting those guys out of those sticks. It was just a big hot mess. But anyway, that's my experience with the Marines. Plus,
I was stationed there for about a little bit over 3 years.
Really? What year were you there?
Back in the 80s. It was like 82 to 86.
Okay. I think this is 87. 86, 87 is when we went down there. Yeah, it seems like it was 86, 87 we were down there. So same dirt, different foxhole.
Yeah. It's
okay. A lot of what?
Swamp.
Oh yeah.
Swamp. A lot of swamp.
Yeah. And this is when we had M151s too, which, all right. So we're completely off topic now. That's okay. We're talking about the military and why people aren't going into it today. So it was the Afghan withdrawal is a lot of it. A lot of the people saw it on the news, and they're like, look, I don't want to have anything to do with any type of military leadership like that at all. But yet those jokers are still sitting in those seats, leading those same soldiers as they were a year ago when this thing went down. And that is wrong in so many different ways. All right. Steve, you're coming in again. Let's go over here. Let me boot you over here because I'm going to kick you from the studio here. Okay, there. All right, so we have the real Steve right here. Okay. Second reason.
Eric?
Second reason. Yep. Go ahead.
I was wondering when you said Thaddeus, had a great sense of humor. Does that not include like the quality of my jokes that I said?
No, you have wonderful jokes, Steve.
Okay, that's all I care about.
Well, Thaddeus's are better. I just want to. No. It's his person. It's this stoic personality that he has. It's kind of like a Tucker Carlson type personality. It's very stoic, but what do you mean that it's that type of thing, and that's Thaddeus for you. But yes, Steve, you tell good jokes. What was the one you were talking about where you got shot at 14 times? You got shot 14 times in your van. And
they shot his guitar, man. His guitar.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Israelis.
Yeah. I don't think that was a funny joke. Getting shot at 14 times isn't all that funny.
Getting shot at 14 times not funny. It's surviving getting shot at 14 times. That's the funny part.
Is funny, and the way that he told it is hilarious. So yeah. He goes, I think they were mad at me. They thought I was a Jew. Well, there you go. You mean that the Gaza Strip is an apartheid state? Oh, yeah, there you go. All right, so number 2 was, the Afghan withdrawal. Number 2 is the Ukrainian mess. The people aren't going into the military today because of what is going on in Ukraine. Now, even though we're not engaged in a war in the Ukraine yet, people are anticipating some type of military involvement in the near future. And some people don't want to have anything to do with that. They're like, well, why do we want to get involved in Ukraine's business when they're a corrupt country to begin with? I mean, look at what happens when you complain and say, hey, can you try to, chase down some of your oligarchs there and look into some of the corruption that's going on and influence peddling? Well, it gets you impeached is what happens, because that's exactly what happened to Trump. and nobody wants to have anything to do with that. The third thing, and also, if we do get in a shooting match with the Russians, any type of conventional warfare with the Russians between the United States and Russia is going to end badly for Russia. That's just a given. There is no way that the Russian military can go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with the United States military. And it's been clearly demonstrated in their ineptitude, just in being able to provide simple logistics to their own soldiers. I mean, it's obvious. But with that said, if we do get in a direct conflict with the Russian military, it's going to escalate into a nuclear conflict. It's almost a certainty. That's what Putin would do, is he would escalate it into a nuclear conflict. And nobody wants to be sitting on a military installation during a nuclear conflict, because the first targets that are sought after are military installations. So if you are at Fort such and such, or Naval Air Station such and such, or Camp Lejeune, whatever, you're the first to go. Why? Because you want to take out the ability of your enemy to wage further conflict or war against you. So nobody wants to be the first ones killed. Well, Paul and I were having a discussion at the beginning of the show that, hey, look, if they're going to drop a nuclear bomb and we're going to go into a nuclear war, I want the bomb to land right on top of my head. I really do. I don't want to survive a nuclear exchange, because everybody's going to die anyway from the fallout.
Well, where I live, it was on the top 10 list. So because Kodak was here, and Bausch and Lomb and Xerox, and they were the ones that provided the spying tools. So, yeah.
Eric.
Yes.
Okay, so you're talking about the military that may be planted. Hi there. Hi, everybody. God bless you all. So you're talking about the military that would be planted in the Ukraine. Is that correct?
No, I don't know. No. What I'm talking about.
So you're talking about Russia would bomb America?
Oh yeah.
Or the military that's stationed that gets planted in the Ukraine. Which one are you talking about?
Oh, they would use tactical nukes on our forward deployed, and they would use ICBMs on
American soil.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're going to nuke our forward deployed, if you're going to nuke, we're talking about using.
They're nuking themselves if they do that.
Right. Yeah. If you're talking about using low-grade nuclear weapons, I mean, it's still a nuclear weapon, and you're still going to expend put a lot of radiation into the atmosphere. But even with that, we're not going to allow that, because then we're going to have a small-grade nuclear exchange there in theater, and then that's going to escalate into, of course, all-out international. And plus, a lot of their nuclear capability today is on hypersonic missiles. And I'm not exactly sure what type of defense systems that we have in place today, how well they have protected or developed a lot of this direct energy guns, where they it's like a laser, where they can bring down these hypersonic missiles. I don't know what type of assets we have with that now, but the bottom line is you still don't want to engage in any type of whether it's a limited nuclear exchange in theater, in the Ukraine, in Europe, because it most certainly is going to spill over into American soil, and soldiers don't want to go in because of that. Third reason is the wokeness baloney that they have to endure, and I was alluding to that when I started talking about don't ask, don't tell, don't pursue, don't harass. Now, don't get all offended when I ogle you when you're getting dressed in the morning. And when you tell somebody, and you mandate this training where you have to be accepting and celebratory of a lifestyle that runs in direct conflict with your most core cherished values, your faith, I'm sorry, the military loses. And on top of that, the vaccinated, they have instituted policies in the military today. If you don't get vaccinated, you're out. You go. Well, people are saying, I'm getting out. I'm going. I'm hitting the road. And for what? What are we getting vaccinated for to begin with?
To lower your sperm count. That's what the new studies say it does.
Can I ask you
I don't know,
Eric?
Yeah, go ahead.
Eric, you were in, right? Did you have an option to get a shot or not? I mean, I didn't.
No,
I got
you
an
don't
order
have
to
it.
go get a shot, and if I didn't go get it, I would be standing before the CO.
Yeah, you don't have an out. No. If you're told that you have to get a, the one that I hated, the typhoid. I don't know if you've ever got the typhoid. I hated that. That sucker hurt. You talk about pain. You can't lift your arm for like 3 days. Or gabaglobin, where they put that thing in your fourth point of contact, and it feels like somebody stuck a golf ball in your butt cheek, not your. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, yeah. If they say that you have to get the shot, you're getting the shot. And the same thing is today with the vaccination. But my question is why are we still requiring a vaccine for our soldiers? Why? Is there this epidemic? Are we at epidemic levels today? Yes. Anthrax. I had to go through the anthrax. Thank you, Jade. Yeah.
If I could interject here. So there is a difference. Remember, this vaccine is still under experimental usage. Now, waivers were given because it's under the FDA gave waivers for emergency use, but it's still experimental. So the argument is, and it's been held up in court, okay? What's been held up and then, in the lower court, then rejected in the appeals court, and now it's going to be before the Supreme Court next year, I believe, okay? Does the military have the right to require an experimental vaccine on soldiers? Now, let's not take into account that I hope that U.S. military forces are the most fit, in shape people in the world. Although now looking at the wokesters, not so much. But anyway, so this disease never really affected them to begin with. You know what I mean? So there was really no reason for them to get it in the first place. Okay. And now the vaccine, let's face it, really doesn't freaking work. Okay. So yeah. Okay.
It doesn't work.
So again, there's
people all over the place that have been quadruple vaccinated and are still getting COVID.
But like
the point, if it's not preventing COVID, why are you still requiring soldiers to get the vaccine?
Exactly. Exactly.
Zero sense whatsoever. Now, if it did prevent contracting COVID, okay, fine. But even on top of that, you're talking about some of the most healthy. Because look at, in order to get in the military, 70% of the population can't get in. Why? Because one of them is the requirement not to be obese. And the people that are obese or have are heavy have problems with COVID. But the people who don't have problems are the young, the young, physically fit people, but yet you're still requiring them to get vaccinated. That makes zero sense. 0 cents. And this is a leadership thing. This is where the SecDef, the Joint Chiefs, the secretaries of the 5 branches of the service, whatever you want to count there, and all of the Joint Chiefs, the chiefs of each branch, need to stand up for their soldiers, but they're not. And the reason why they're not is because they've seen this attitude sweep into D.C. with Susan Rice and all of her frickin' minions influencing a man who is being abused. It's elder abuse, keeping this guy in the White House today. So the military is coming unraveled, and this is just an indication of that. 40%. You're sitting at 40% of your goals, and it's middle of July. And nobody, I don't know what to do.
Hey, Eric, do you got any video clips of the new training, the woke training that they're putting soldiers to go through? I'm teaching them about use of proper pronouns or preferred, preferred pronouns. No, this is horrendous training. No, this is seriously, this is mandatory training. You got that video? Go ahead and pull that up and play it for them. And I got to go buy this homeless dude something to eat real quick, so I'll be back.
All right. Okay, so let me see if I can find it. Okay, military. Doggone it! I knew you'd put me on the spot. And then what do? You go eat. Thank you. Okay, so YouTube. This is perfect. Okay, so military personal pronoun training. Okay, let's see what comes up for that. Military personnel pronoun training. Here it is. Shocking video. All right, let's bring this over here.
Now, Eric, has this been just since Biden has come into office, or is this even prior?
Nope,
okay, so this is all
Biden
starting since Biden.
Yeah, can you guys hear that?
No, sir.
Okay, good.
Silence.
All right, so let me. Yes, all right. So let me go ahead and. Okay, stop screen. Let's see if that works. Okay, so let's try it again because I gotta. Hold on, shut up. Hold on, I got this. Hold on, I got this. Share screen.
Are you going to let us see it, or just listen?
Yep. Give me a second here. I gotta.
Okay, well you can do two things at one time, man.
When you're trying to be in
do it.
I gotta get it up. I
Jeez.
gotta share. I had to get
Oh,
completely out of my
wow.
screen share.
Oh wow! Even the
Oh, yeah, I
daringness to
remember
wear
this.
that. They're presenting to the military.
So, yeah.
They gotta be
Hi, my
insane.
name is Kunchi.
And
right,
and it's on.
Kunchi.
Oh my gosh! And then that
There we
is
go.
just unfreaking believable.
My name is Johnny, and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, and I'm Conchi, and I use she, her pronouns.
And we're here.
Okay. Hi, my name's Eric, and my personal pronouns are Lord and King. How's that? Do you think I would fare very well at one of these training sessions? I don't think so.
To talk about pronouns.
What is a pronoun? A pronoun is how we identify ourselves apart from our name, and it's also how people refer to us in conversation.
Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm one's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect.
The signal of how do we go about creating a space for everybody?
Okay, watch this. This is priceless.
Can you raise that sound
That's
a
a good
little
question.
bit?
Okay, let me try. Listen to what this joker says. Oops, sorry. I guess I did have it down, didn't I? All right, here we go.
Instead of saying something like, hey guys, you can say, hey everyone, or hey team.
Okay. Hey guys. That's what we say, or hi, hey y'all. That's what we say. That's just the way we talk. But say, hey everyone, or hey, shut your. Okay. That's all. I can't take it. I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and watch this crap. This is what our military is being subjected to. This is exactly the type of wokeness that is driving people away from the military that are in, and also the people driving them away from the recruiting stations. And this is inevitably going to destroy the military because they see a hierarchy of general officers who are being forced to either embrace this or leave the service. And general officers are not exercising the moral courage, professional moral courage, to stand up and say, this is wrong. And you're destroying the warrior spirit in the military by requiring our soldiers, our blue-eyed, steel-bellied killers, to have to suffer through, what's this guy's name? Conchi and whatever the hell this guy's name. Give me a break. You want to destroy a military, you want to destroy a country, it starts right here. Go ahead, Darcy. I'm sorry.
That's just one more reason for the U.S. to be laughed at by the world.
Yeah, could you imagine what the Chinese are doing right now? And that's kind of the point of doing this show, is to illuminate how the Chinese are viewing our country. Because the Chinese are our number one economic, cultural, and military opponent. Economics, they are bent on stealing our our intellectual property and destroying our economic base. Culturally, or I should say more importantly, politically, they're bent on destroying capitalism and the confidence in capitalism, and I have some statistics for that. And they're also bent on destroying us politically. I meant economically before, and then politically. And they are destroying us politically because of this president that we have and his son, Hunter Biden. And that's where Rad is going to be coming in here in just a second. But let me get this guy off my screen because I can't even stand looking at him. Okay. A couple other things that I wanted to throw out here is when we get on the case of well, let me go to this article here, this article right here. When we start looking at Marxism, political Marxism, cultural Marxism, economic Marxism, this is the dream of Karl Marx. Karl Marx wanted to dethrone God. And in order to dethrone God, what you have to do is you have to destroy that country's faith in God. And when you look at the statistics of the people who believe in God, I wrote this down. This is from this article today. This is dated. When is this dated? June 25th. Oh, this has been a couple weeks. Okay. The number of believers in our country has gone from 90% in 2011 to 81% today. Now, that's a 9% drop in a 10-year period.
Now, that's believe in God would be the Jews and Christians. They're the only ones who know who God is. So is that who they're polling? Is the Jews and the Christians?
I am not sure.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Islamists. Wouldn't be any of those because they don't even know who God is.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Okay. All right. Thanks,
let's see here. Okay. Of the people. Well, I agree with you because they're not talking about people who believe in a sacred cow, like a Hindu, or in the god Buddha, or
a sacred rock.
A minor.
Yeah, they're all just polytheists,
yeah,
you know,
or
and
rock.
Yeah, they're just the heathens.
Or like a rock in the desert. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. The percentage of believers in our country, liberals, 62% of them believe in God. So if you classify yourself as a liberal, only 62% of you believe in God. If you classify, let's see, if you are categorized as a young adult, only 68% believe in God. If you self-identify as a Democrat, only 72% of Democrats believe in God. Conservatives, if you consider yourself a conservative, 94% of conservatives believe in God. And Republicans, 92% believe in God. But since 2017, belief in God has gone down 6%. So when we start talking about the goal of Karl Marx and Marxism itself, this is exactly what his goal was, is to dethrone God. And you do that by taking away Christian influences. And when you look at the growing acceptance of socialism within our country, the Generation Z, 54% of Generation Z, which is the current generation, I think we have Generation X. What do we have? What do we have? I can't even remember, but the current generation, Z, 54% have a negative view of capitalism. 54% have a negative view of capitalism. Only 42% have a positive view of capitalism. Our schools, I wouldn't even say our schools, I would say our universities are failing our children. Our universities, all these millions and billions of dollars that we're shoving into these institutions of higher learning in the form of, well, I want to pay off the student debts of these kids, that type of crap. It would only get worse. And to think that these universities would still be receiving that kind of money to indoctrinate our kids in order to teach them to hate our country, to teach them to mistrust the institutions, the economic institutions that has brought this country more wealth than any other country in the history of the world. That principle of capitalism is, and to teach that it is wrong or bad is wrong. It is long. Go ahead, Red.
Let's put this in perspective, because the counter woke argument would be like, yes, it's only brought prosperity for a few. Okay, but what about all the poverty that is brought? No, it hasn't brought any poverty. You realize, okay, well, never mind. Anyway, I do got to join a shelter or something so I can help these people. But anyway, I just bought this dude a meal right now, okay, him and his junkie friend, okay, that would feed a small village, okay, in some of the, you know what I mean? He actually even said to me, he's like, we go to a grocery store, we can get more food. I'm like, dude, I'm not walking down the grocery store. Sorry, you're getting McDonald's. That's all you're getting. I know I probably shouldn't have, but I did. Anyway, point being is this, okay? Look, you can go and see homeless camps. They got cell phones. They got access to all kinds of stuff, dude. And yes, they got programs, and these programs are shit, sorry, but they are, okay? They're like the human feces that are on the sidewalks in some of these liberal Democrat-run cities. Thank God not Chicago. But, they've got more going for them than any place else in the world. The problem is it's actually a feedback loop. You've got drug addiction, mental illness, drug addiction. Okay, these two things are feeding into each other. Okay, all right. Okay, so you got someone who's a drug addict, which then induces the mental insanity. Then you got a person who's mentally insane to begin with, and he's doing the drugs. So it's a total feedback loop. Okay. And this is a problem that, guess what? Let me, okay. Guess what? Guess what? In the 1970s, the lefties and liberals at the time, they said, well, we cannot keep people locked up in insane asylums because they haven't committed any crimes. Okay. All right. I would agree with that to a certain point. But the problem is you let them out without any follow-up. In other words, as long as they're on their medications, they're kind of fine, semi-coherent, and they can function, okay? And these medications are not perfect. They weren't perfect in the 70s. They're not perfect now, okay? But the thing is, through follow-up, through constant care, adjusting the medications, as long as they keep going to the doctor, they will eventually get to a blend where they actually can feel normal and at the same time be normal. Okay. The problem is we just let them out into the streets, which was very good. Actually, Republicans signed onto it because they're saying, fine, we don't have to pay for it no more. Okay. So they let them out into the streets, no follow-up care, no looking after them. No, okay, fine. Here's your 30-day prescription supply for this medication that's going to make you drowsy. That's going to make you struggle for a coherent thought, but it's going to keep you from having the hallucinations and the visions and thinking you're suicidal and you're going to kill yourself. Okay. Well, the problem is they don't want to take that medication because it makes them feel that way. And when they are manic or when they're psychotic, they feel alive, okay? More alive, more creative, more energetic, but the problem is it feeds back into it. And then they start doing the crack and the meth and the fentanyl and the heroin and all the other crap. And it feeds back into it, and there is no follow-up care. And this is the problem, okay? We need to adjust that to where it is like, okay, fine, we're going to lock you up for 30 days. We're going to give you psychology. We're going to give you the medications. We're going to adjust it. We're going to try and tweak it. But as long as you're not suicidal, and as long as you're not psychotic, yes, we'll release you into society. But there better be a plan where they can go. And secondly, they have to basically be follow-up. In other words, if they're not meeting with their doctor, okay, every 30 days to get the refill of the prescription to check on them, then guess what? They're in violation. They go back. Do you see what I'm saying? Anyway, sorry to go on that rant there. But bottom line is this. We have more in this country, okay, right now than any place in the world. And they hate us for it. And they hate us for it. Look at one more thing. Look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or however she pronounced her name. Her real name is Sandy, by the way. It's actually on a video where she's showing off her Eat the Rich dress. Okay? All right? Where they're calling, oh, Sandy, you look so beautiful. So her name really is Sandy. But that's beside the point. Anyway, she is making over $150,000 a year. Now, everybody makes fun of her as when she was a bartender in Manhattan, New York, or the Bronx, New York, or whatever. Well, guess what? Bartenders at a high-end bar where she was working at, guess what? They're making that. Actually, she might have taken a pay cut, okay, to go work at, to be a congressman, because they make a crap ton of money if they're good at it, okay? Anyway,
A bartender
bottom
makes
line is this.
$150,000. What did you just say?
Your high-end bars in the city. Oh, yeah, guarantee you. I mean, think about it.
Well, that's
They're
why
working,
she's been
8 hours.
Drink so she can make more money.
No, seriously, think about it. Think about it. You're working at a high-end bar. Let's say for a couple, or let's say for a person, a bar tab plus, food and everything is $40-50, 20% of that. Okay. All right. You're doing 10, 15 people like that a day. Every hour, every couple hours. How much money are you going to make a day? You're going to make $300-400 a day easy. And back in the day when they weren't checking credit cards and everything was cash, that was all tax-free, baby. Okay. You know what I mean? Now, unfortunately, they're taxing them, so now they're getting hit hard. But bottom line is this. She comes up and she says, I have $19,000 in college debt. She bought a $60,000 Tesla, okay? She's making $1,000 a month car payment on this vehicle, okay? All right? Get rid of that. You can pay off $19,000 debt. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm hearing feedback. But anyway, no, and
how much?
What? Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you were saying something.
No, how much are Teslas? I mean, you said they cost $60,000.
Base model is $60,000, and believe me, I wish I had the $60,000. I rode in them. They are sweet cars, dude. They really are. They thought of everything. Let me put it this way: my boss, who owns one, well, he owns a higher end one. He lost power at his house for 2 days. This Tesla was fully charged. He put it in camper mode, and it was and they slept out in his car, dude. I mean, seriously, the kids. I mean, no, it's one of the big ones, one of the SUV ones. But the kids were in there, dude. For 48 hours you can run the AC in camper mode on this Tesla. I mean, this thing, honestly, they thought of everything. And plus, they got an app when someone sits. You can set it when someone sits.
I didn't realize that. What is going on here? Yeah. Okay, I'm obviously.
Well, let me just tell you about it. But I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Did you guys have dead air from me there for a second?
No, you're fine. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Okay.
The most important thing, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me just finish up with the Tesla thing really quickly. They've got this app on all Teslas where if someone sits in your car, it's like a whoopee cushion and it sounds a fart noise. That is awesome. I love that thing. That is so cool. But anyway. But no, these people, I mean, seriously, $19,000. She's saying, no, you got to forgive my student loan debt. Because I'm a congresswoman, I'm making $150,000. That's not enough. So now we got to pay your $19,000 of tuition. That really, to be honest with you, it would not have amounted to anything unless you ran for Congress to rip us off. No, I'm sorry. You got Jay Paul. She got her lawyer. Not Jay Paul. I forgot one of the squad members. She was like, I worked my butt off 5 days a week and went to law school at nights and got my law degree. Okay, and I'm still $40,000 in the hole. Okay, again, you're making $150,000, and you can't pay that off as a lawyer. Come on, people. You know what I mean? It's just no.
It's the idea of paying off college debt to me is an anathema. Because what about those people who don't want to go to college? So now what you're telling them that those people who didn't want to go to college should go into the workforce and start earning. Making away and earning money for a living, their tax dollars that they're paying is now going to go to subsidize you, who wants to go to college for a couple of years and not go immediately into the workforce. Screw you, buddy. Go ahead and go jump in the lake. I'm not giving you a dime. You want to go to college, that's fine. You pay for it. If I choose to go into the workforce, and I pay taxes. Don't ask me to pay for you to go to college. You want to go? Great, go. But don't ask me to pay for it. Take the flipping. Okay.
I mean, Eric,
All
you
right,
went
so-
in, you could have gone the GI Bill. That's what I'm saying. Some of us, I have had students they got hired by companies who offered to pay their entire way because they were valuable to them.
And that's the way capitalism works.
Scam.
No, what we
Anytime you
need.
start subsidizing. Hold on a second, Red. Hold on. As soon as you start subsidizing these colleges, then what you do is that you're no longer holding them accountable. You're not holding what they're teaching accountable, and you are diluting the value of that college degree. So if you're going to start saying, okay, well, everybody should go to college and everybody should have it paid for by the government, what you're doing is you're diluting the value of the college degree, and you shouldn't do that. You should make it as valuable as you possibly can. But I don't agree that you should require somebody to incur $100,000 of debt in order to go to college. The problem is that they're paying these snotty-nosed little professors up there way too doggone much money to bloviate about how evil our country is. If you should just get a real job and get the hell out of there, or get into a classroom and start teaching real students, get down into the high school and start teaching people in these environments.
Remember, these professors took no classes in education and got a job teaching. They have no concept of classroom management. They have no concept of grading. They have no concept of how to teach. But all of a sudden, because they're an expert, quote expert in a field, they get to do that. My biggest issue is they teach social studies teachers to teach that socialism is better than capitalism, and you get them. And I've actually, locally in my area, we have a teacher who teaches everybody, all of his students, that socialism is far better, and they come out and talk about it. And whenever I can find them, I'll ask them, okay, name one country where it's been successful.
North Korea.
Still waiting.
Oh, Paul, let me interject here really quickly, Paul. First of all, grades are racist. Don't you know that? You can't give people grades. That's racist. I am not making that up. That's what they're now teaching. That's what they're now teaching teachers in the largest school systems in the country, like San Diego, the fourth largest school system in California, I should say. Portland, Oregon, actually all of Washington State. This is meant in New York City. I mean, no, this is what they're teaching these bachelor's degree, little children who are 23, 24, fresh out of college, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, want to change the world through education, right? They're teaching them now, well, no, grades are racist, and showing up on time is racist, and turning your work is racist. You know what I mean? Okay, anyway, and they're actually teaching that in the corporate now. They're actually teaching that in the corporate field now. I'm not making this up. But anyway, getting back to this whole thing, getting back to this whole thing, where you mentioned, okay, these so-called experts, okay, these PhD people, okay. Well, no. Here's the thing. None of them have ever had a real job. You think about how it's looked down upon. We need trade schools. We actually, the unions kind of screwed this up, like the electricians union. If you want to get if you want to become an electrician, or in Illinois at least, you need to go to the electricians union. You cannot get a job, even if you get a master's degree in home electricity. You cannot get a job, okay, as a contractor. Forget about it, okay. But no, we need trade schools where you go and you work, and at the same time you learn. In other words, you go and work in the trade and you learn the trade. Okay, this is what we need. We don't need this.
I think Radical is correct. One thing I've noticed in all of this, is that excuse me, is that the colleges that
mute yourself, Eric. It's a bad echo here.
Are not reducing their pay. They are not reducing the loans. They are not letting the students default on the loans. They're still practicing capitalism. and nobody's calling these colleges out on this.
Well, that's
here's
the
something
problem. There's no
interesting. Here's something
accountability.
interesting. Well, here's something interesting. When Obama, I didn't realize this. I didn't know this. But Obama in the 2008, whenever he was there, he took the federal government and they took over the student loan program. There are no more private student loans. Okay, all right. Well, I don't know if there's no more private student loans, but anyway, the federal government bought up all these student loans. Well, guess what happened? Tuitions went up dramatically. Okay, because now, the government's going to pay for it. You know what I mean? We can charge them whatever we want now, and the government's going to pay for it. No, so again, whenever government gets involved, prices do not go down, they go up. This is kind of the thing, man.
That's exactly why they need to get out of education. There's nothing in the Constitution that gives them the authority to be in it to begin with. As a matter of fact, the 10th Amendment tells them that they have to keep their nose out of it. But we don't have a court system within Cajon. Well, we might now because of the way the Supreme Court is structured now, to tell them, say, hey, you don't have the authority to do it. Look in the Constitution. 10th Amendment clearly states that any power not articulated in or enumerated, better word, in the Constitution is left to the states. And so if you want the states to run their education program, that's fine. But the federal government has no business being involved in education at all. It's supposed to be a state function.
Right.
And anything that's not
Ron
in the
has harped on
Constitution is
this for
supposed to be a
years.
state function. What's that
Yeah,
now?
we need to shut that down because it's actually ruining America. But that's
Right.
what they want. I mean, that's how to tear down. I mean, that Marxism, they have, excuse me, they have it laid out, plan by
This is the
plan,
goal.
how to tear
It is
down
the
a
goal.
nation.
You're exactly right.
Read the book Radicals, A Rules for Radicals by he's a Jewish guy. He's actually I was in a book club last summer. He's actually I was in a book club at his grave. He's buried here in Chicago, and I was live streaming from the gravesite. It was the coolest thing. But anyway, I forgot his name. But read Rules for Radicals. That's exactly what. No, he's spelling out this plan. But no. Here's another thing. Eric and hold on, sorry, Paul. Sorry, I was going to call you Steve. Eric and Paul. You guys are teachers, right? Tell me what is wrong with school vouchers and school choice. Why is it that these teachers unions are preventing parents from taking the money that they are getting from the state and federal government from taking their child and enrolling them in charter schools or in schools of their choice? I remember.
I'll give you an answer, Rad. You might not like it. Number one, those schools are not evaluated the same way. They don't get reviewed the same way. They get no review. So it's not fair treatment of the education system of the public schools versus the private schools versus the charter schools. The charter schools get almost.
Hold on, Paul. What do you mean they don't get reviewed? Who doesn't?
They don't get reviewed in the same manner.
Who doesn't?
So if a school fails, you have X amount of time to be improved. But how a school fails is not it's not determined the same way. You can take, in fact, the public schools have no choice. In New York State, you're not allowed to kick out a child until they're 17.
See, that's wrong.
You cannot expel a child from a
that's
school.
Wrong.
Now,
that's right.
A private school can kick out anyone. Guess what?
That's right.
A charter school can kick out anyone. Oh, yes, they'll say, no, you can't. They can't. That's not true. What they'll do is they'll call the parent and they'll say, we're gonna call you and demand that you come in every day until your child is withdrawn. I've seen that happen. So they don't get. They would.
Well,
we would
you're talking good things, Paul. Paul, you're talking good things. That's how it was.
Where do they go? They go to the public school because we can't get rid of them. Is what I'm saying. It's not.
But why prevent? But why prevent the good parents? Because here's how it is. I remember this. Okay. In the 1980s, when I was in a high school, I was in a very wealthy, this is very well-funded high school in the North Shore of Chicago, okay? And there were kids, they were Asian, okay, that were like in the South Side, like in Chinatown. and they would get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning to take multiple buses all the way from the south side to get to this school, okay? To go there. They had a P.O. box or an aunt or something like that they could forge the documentation that they were real residents. But the reason why is because they could not, because they had to, because they were that gifted. And they were involved in all the gifted classes. Well, because they were Asian. I'm just saying, because it's true. Anyway,
Again, it's
okay? But why prevent that? Why say that's wrong? In other words, if you are in a neighborhood, because it's all based on where you live and the tax rate. If you are in a neighborhood with a failing school, why would I want to send my kid to that failing school, especially when he's gifted or she's gifted? I want to send him to the best school. I don't want him sending to a kid where we got to walk through a homeless encampment like they do in San Francisco just to get them to class. You know what I mean? You see, so what's wrong with it? I
have a problem with sending him to a better school. I have a problem with the schools not being evaluated in the same manner. That's all it comes down to. If you're going to evaluate the public school one way, evaluate the private school the same way. Evaluate the charter school the same way. That's all I'm asking. If you're going to do that, great.
The public school should be able to throw the children out. Because look at Boston. They had this kid. They made a big deal about it. He had like a third grade reading level, and he was in the top percentile of his classroom. But that top percentile was 40% failing, or 51% failing. He never even went to class for 3 years, and they're wondering why. You know what I mean? He's got to do everything over again.
It's that's what I'm asking is if you evaluate the schools the same way, and you make sure that these students who get accepted with those monies can't be expelled.
Well, no, if they're not performing, they need to be expelled or go to another school. I'm just saying. Yes.
So you don't think private schools should be treated the same way? They should be evaluated. They should not be evaluated the same way, is what you're saying.
No, I think they should be evaluated the same way. I think honestly that the solution is not.
So they should be penalized like we are if a student leaves the school.
No, not. Why would you be penalized?
That's what happens in the New York State school system.
Well, if the kid is failing and the parents are no, the school is not for him. Put him in another program. Put him again in a working program, or let him go free and figure it out. I don't know, but I'm just saying, why prevent a parent who's a good parent and a good student from going to the school of their choice? This is what I'm saying.
I'm not against that. I'm against the schools not being evaluated the same manner.
Well, they should be evaluated the same way. No, the public schools should not be punished for students, okay, that are just complete screw-ups, okay? Let's face it. You can't have them now. Just saying.
Yeah, I don't know if you agree with me, Eric, but yeah.
Can I talk?
Sorry.
Yeah, Eric, I give you permission to talk. Go ahead, Eric.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Connie. I appreciate that. Okay, I'm for vouchers. I'm for parents giving a parent a voucher, whatever the average cost is that the school system pays per child in that community. I'm for giving them a voucher. If they want to go to a private school, that's fine. If they want to go to a public school, that's fine with me also. The problem is the teachers' unions have such a lock on education today that number one, it's almost impossible to get a teacher fired today. I mean, it really is. I've seen teachers that they get arrested, for God's sake. And they're still in the classroom the next day. And I'm thinking, what in the heck is going on?
I've seen
they show up for work. They miss 40, 50 days of work a year. I've
seen a principal of that one.
Yeah. And, so I believe that students, and I'm on Rad's side on this one, that, I'm for saving all the students that we possibly can, because, these kids, a lot of kids have so many problems that you and I can't even possibly fathom, and the challenges that they have to deal with. And they're just kind of a product of their environment, of what they've grown up in. but at the same time, when they come into a school environment and you require a teacher to manage those problems, manage those behaviors at the expense of the other students' learning because of the disruptions that they cause in the class, you simply have to have a place to put those students. I'm not saying that kick them to this curb, or I'm not talking about just incarcerating them because they can't behave in a classroom. I'm talking about creating separate classrooms for students that just cannot behave themselves. And I mean, let's face it, those are the ones that normally have learning disabilities. Those are the ones that normally struggle. Those are the ones that normally have problems at home. So you just create schools within a district itself for wayward children
these
like
are
that.
called alternative settings, and many school districts and liberal school districts have, for some insane reason, gone away from that.
Some have, but the majority of them still have these alternative settings. But make it when they get into these settings, you say, okay, here's your cubicle. Here are your assignments. If you get them done, great. If you don't, well, you're not going to pass. And if you don't pass, well, you get out in life and you don't have a high school diploma and you can't qualify to get a GED. Well, you might be able to join the military now because you don't need those things. But I mean, what are your prospects what are your prospects for life? So there has to be some. There has to be some type of a trade-off here, and I agree that there should be accountability of our private schools. And I worked for a private college for a couple of years, Paul, and I'll tell you that the requirements for private colleges that they have for completion of coursework, enrollment, things of this, it's much higher. You're exactly right. So I believe if you're going to say that, you want to hold them all accountable, okay, let's make public and private colleges on the same thing. If you want to make it at the local level,
I don't want to lower the bar.
Have the private schools.
That's the thing. I'm only talking about how they evaluate. I'm not talking about lowering the bar or raising the bar for students. I'm only talking about evaluating schools the same way public schools are. All schools.
I don't think you can do that though. It sounds good in practice. And when I was working for that private school, it sounded good making them both the same, but there's so many different things that go along with it that, I don't even want to get into that. I don't even want that to be the topic of the show.
That's my only issue.
And I appreciate
I agree with vouchers. I agree with vouchers.
Eric, you meant it sounds good in theory, but in practice, it doesn't work.
Why would that be?
Yeah, you meant to say it sounds good in theory, but in practice it doesn't.
Evaluating schools she's referring to.
Oh, evaluating schools. School vouchers would work. I'm almost certain school vouchers would work.
If
you give that individual a choice.
I think it might even close some schools.
It would, and it would put the teachers union out of business. All those teachers that suck. Get your tail out of the classroom, go find a real job. And then this way we could bring in teachers who can actually teach instead of spending half of their day managing all these behaviors, which is caused by the teachers union allowing every child to stay in a classroom, despite the fact that they tell you to flip off every other word coming out of their pie hole.
In my school district, it's the administrators who are administrating those policies. So we would be fighting
being directed by the school boards
fighting each other.
Yeah. All right. So let's get to China. Let's get to where the Wuhan virus actually. I thought we were
going to talk about Hunter.
Hunter and China are linked. Okay.
Yes.
One thing that I saw today was this article. Let me bring it up here real quick. China is buying billions in U.S. farmland, and lawmakers are scrambling to stop them. And I agree with that, because to allow China to buy farmland, which they can solely dedicate to growing crops for China, is a bad thing for the United States. It truly is, and it's going to drive up the cost of the land, or the values of the land, to where it's going to make growing crops on the lands across the board untenable. You just simply will not be able to compete or to grow crops at a price that makes food cheap and available to everybody if you have a country dedicated to buying up all the farmland. But I was talking to
my cousin. That's how they get into our country. See how they're doing it? Oh, we're buying food. It's fine. We should not be selling any land to any country.
Well,
it's America's soil.
The reason why they're doing it, and I'll tell you the reason why they're doing is they're trying to keep from having to go through the same thing that they went through in, I think it was 1959, 60, and 61. They had about 500 million people starved to death in their country. Maybe I'm a little bit high on that number. I think I wrote it down here someplace, but it was just an astronomical number of people. Hold on. Maybe it was on this other paper. Let's see.
And what was the cause of that?
55 million.
What was the cause of that?
They had, it was crop failure was part of it, but it was also top down communism. This is kind of Soviet style communism, where when the Soviet Union was in control of Ukraine, the people in Ukraine starved, even though that they grew the majority of the wheat for the country, because they were forced to ship that wheat into Russia itself, and the people are like, oh, we don't have any food. Well, too bad. And so you had this mass starvation, and you had the same thing happening in China. So in order to prevent that from happening, what they're doing is they're buying up all this land and setting up these collective farms like you would normally have in a Soviet style or communistic type era. So, and this is driving up the cost of land. But we have land where my grandfather left me and my sister, brother, and cousin a farm, and land around that had sold last 2 months ago. I think it was 3 months ago. Listen to this, $14,000 an acre. $14,000 for an acre of farmland, folks. That is
preposterous.
Crazy. That's just crazy high. And it's that farm that we have is it's pretty big. I mean, so I'm thinking, let's sell it. Make all kinds of money, but it's a family thing. So of course, we're anyway. And I was talking to my cousin, her and her husband are engaged in farming, and they spent an additional $23,000 in just fertilizer costs this year. $23,000 additionally, in order to break even. He said in order for them to break even, they have to get corn around $6.20 a bushel just to break even. Now, corn normally sells for $3.50 a bushel. In order to break even this year, that they have to be selling it for about $6.25 a bushel. Now, I think it's at like $7 a bushel right now, so they're okay. I'm not sure what they locked in for, but anyway, the cost of farming and food is going through the roof. And China, in a lot of cases, is driving this. And if we have policies that benefit China, then we need to rethink them at the expense of the American. I'm not saying to let the Chinese people starve at all. I'm not saying that at all. But at the expense of the American people, we got to put America first.
Right.
And you have a president, and here's where Hunter comes into play. You have a president whose son has peddled influence to China. I wrote down a couple things that Hunter has done, and this is where we talk about the decay of the American soul, where you have a president whose son, this is the son of the president of the United States. Now think of one of Trump's sons had done any of this crap that this guy's done. Okay, just ask yourself, what they would have crucified Trump over this. But here's Hunter Biden, who got kicked out of the Navy, oh, by the way, because he came up hot on a urinalysis for crack cocaine or whatever the hell it was. He gets kicked out of the Navy, for Pete's sake. The Naval Reserve or whatever the heck it was. He gets kicked out of the Navy because he's a drug head. Then you have the gun issue. He bought a gun. This is the president's son, bought a gun. And when you purchase a firearm, one of the questions on you have to fill out a questionnaire, do a background check. During this background checks that they're begging for. Well, if you're not enforcing the law for the background checks, what the hell do you have it there for to begin with? What's the point?
Right.
And to push for stricter background checks. Well, you're not going to force the law. So what's the point of it? Throw your son in jail, and then maybe you can go ahead and talk to me about it. But he put down that he was not a drug addict. Well, that's one of the questions on there. Are you a drug addict? And Hunter said, no, I'm not a drug addict. But he was a drug addict. So he lied. That's a crime. Why is he not in jail for it? Second thing, he sat on this board for Burisma in the Ukraine. Donald Trump, when Zelensky became president, asked Zelensky, hey, we know that you have all kinds of corruption going on over there. And one of the corrupt things about corruption is that they're peddling influence. We have people in our country peddling influence in order to get special treatment for these oligarchs in your country. Can you look into that? And they impeached him for it. Comes to find out, Hunter Biden, who has no experience in the energy industry, is sitting on a board over there, sucking in about 100,000. I don't know what the amount was, but it comes out to millions of dollars is what he gets for sitting on a board. So because his daddy was the vice president of the United States. And then Joe gets on TV and says, look, when they started investigating this company, the prosecutor who was investigating it, I had him fired, and admits it. And he had him fired because he made sure that he was fired because if the president of the Ukraine at that time did not fire him, he was going to withhold $1 billion in U.S. aid. U.S. aid, money that doesn't belong to Joe. But Joe said that if you don't fire this guy who's investigating that the company that my son who sits on his board, I'm not going to let you get this aid from our country. What type of crap is that?
You left out the impersonation. He just doesn't say if you don't fire this guy. He said I'm getting on a plane in 3 hours. Unless you fire this guy, okay, I'll call Obama and you ain't getting this money. And then Joe Biden says, "Well, son of a bitch, he was fired an hour later." Yeah,
that's your president.
There's no corruption going on there. But no, so here's part of my plan if I ever run for Congress. You mentioned Hunter Biden filling out on the form that lying, saying that he wasn't a drug addict, right? On form 4073, I believe it is. Okay. No. We add on that form. Are you now, or have you ever been a member of the Democratic Party, or have you ever voted for a Democrat since 2020? Boom, making it illegal for Democrats to own and possess a firearm, and we prosecute that heavily. I'm just saying.
Well, they're not going to prosecute it. That's the problem. And when you have somebody dead to right here, I mean, you don't get any clear violation of the law. And yet you have a Justice Department that absolutely refuses to enforce the law. And they would rather go over after people who dress up as Chewbacca, a Star Wars figure, and go into the Capitol and walk around like, I don't know what's going on. That is sick. That is a lack of priority.
Oh, you know what? Okay, well, you haven't figured this out yet, Eric? Okay, so here's what they're doing. They're investigating it. Well, guess what? It's going to be mysterious. Multiple of these charges have already passed the limitation. In other words, I think for his for his firearms thing, I think that's coming up on they can't prosecute. In other words, they'll come out like 3 months after, okay, it is past the limit to prosecute. Okay, what is it called? Statutory, whatever.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations. They'll come out and say, well, we found significant evidence to prosecute him on this, but it's now past the statute of limitations, so we can't prosecute him. That's what they're doing. They're slow walking all this crap. They're letting the clock run out. And I guarantee you, once we get a Republican president, whether it's not going to be Trump, it has to be DeSantis or somebody else that will be willing to take control over the DOJ and the attorney and the FBI and Attorney General's office, that will crack the whip and say, no, you need to present now. What have you been doing? And if you cannot produce anything, then you're fired. Okay? In other words, Hunter Biden's going to get away with all of it. Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and his corrupt brother and his corrupt sister, it's the whole family. It is literally the Biden crime family. This is no joke. They made millions. Not just millions, tens of millions. hundreds of millions of dollars off of this crap. And they've been doing it since Joe Biden took office. This dude, seriously, man. I mean, I have never hated anyone in my life more than I hate Joe Biden's mother for not practicing Democrat version of reproductive health care when she was pregnant with Joe Biden. Okay? I also hate Corn Pop because Corn Pop should have taken him out. I also hate that Afghani dude. Okay, they were praising him because Joe Biden wouldn't get him out. But in 2007, 8, or whatever, he saved Joe Biden's life when he was a senator when their plane broke down in the mountains of Afghanistan. I hate him. Okay, for doing his job and saving this pathetic piece of crap. You know what I mean? Seriously.
Okay. Rad, you're gonna get this show reported, and I'm gonna get a visit from a couple people.
Oh no! Let me just add this. I pray literally every other night that nothing happens to Joe Biden at all. Seriously, because if anything was to happen to him at all, we would get Kamala Harris, which would be 20 billion times worse than this nincompoop. So no, I mean no harm against Joe Biden. Just the people that could have solved our problem before it was our problem. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, let's get back to Hunter here. Hunter is, when we start looking at the degradation of American standards and the American soul itself, here you have the first family who has a son who's a crack addict. He's a crackhead. You would think that the president of the United States, or then vice president of the United States,
mic, Rad.
I'm muting it. Okay, the vice president of the United States would get him the help he needs, and I can empathize with people who have substance abuse problems. I get it. I've seen people with substance abuse problems, and understand how terrible it is on their lives. But you have to get them help. You have to get them cleaned up. You cannot facilitate their habits. You have to do so. You have to get strong with these people. And by sending $100,000 to your son to clean up prostitution bills that, and here's my other article that I wanted to talk about, was this these bills that he had for hiring prostitutes. Now he's engaging in what we call human trafficking. And we know this because we've seen what's on his laptop. And we've also got a glimpse of what these people have done by hacking into his iCloud account and giving us some information on there. And the stuff is scary. The laptop, we know that the laptop is authentic, and it was denied by all major media outlets during the campaign. Trump tried to bring it up and say, look, this guy is a scumbag. He's peddling American influence. His son's is knee deep in it, and he's personally benefiting from it. He's the epitome of a corrupt politician. And his son's laptop computer proves all this. Well, it comes out. Well, what did Rad say? What did Joe Biden say? Well, son of a bitch. It's true. The New York Times, the Washington Post, all of these news organizations have come out and said, yes, that laptop that they have is authentic. Those emails that they pulled off of that laptop are authentic. And, oh, by the way, they've gone in there and they've doing some forensic investigation. They have even more emails. Like 100,000 more emails that they're pulling off this sucker. So just go ahead and buckle up for what's coming. The problem is, and we've alluded to this, that there's this two-tiered justice system in our country. And when you start having a two-tiered system of justice, this is when the peasants start picking up the pitchforks. This is when people start rebelling and saying, no, oh, hell no. We are a constitutional republic. And the faster that you understand that and you get the hell out of the way, because if Joe Biden is caught trying to provide cover for Hunter, impeding investigations, which is patently obvious to everybody today, He's going to make Richard Nixon and his cover up of the Watergate fiasco look like a choir boy. And here's example of what I mean. Look at right here. This is an article that came out yesterday. Biden administration is restricting access to over 150 suspicious activity reports on Hunter. Now, a suspicious activity report is something that is generally developed by the Department of Treasury. And when you have transactions, meaning you have transactions made by people paying prostitutes, underage prostitutes, and we call that pedophilia, oh, by the way, something that everybody here on this show, I'm sure, denounces, because one certain prophet practiced it and tortured this little child for 9 years of her life in doing this. They have pictures of Hunter participating in this, and they won't publish the pictures. Why? Because if you publish the pictures of Hunter practicing pedophilia, that means that you're publishing child porn. So people aren't going to publish this stuff because they're afraid that they're going to get nailed for for child porn charges by reporting Hunter Biden for this. So here you have a son of a president of the United States who's engaging in illicit drug use, buying firearms under illegal pretenses. He's engaged in perpetuating human trafficking and prostitution, engaging in sexual activity with underage minor women who have been trafficked, that are involved in human trafficking. And to say anything about this, you're called the bad guy. You're called, I don't even know what you're the one that is going to be investigated for this. Look at look at these investigations that they're running right now. January 6th. Who in the Hades cares about January 6th? Does anybody care about January 6th? The only people that care about January 6th is Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, because they don't want Donald Trump running again. Because if they think that they can get Donald Trump indicted somehow, and this is what I don't understand, how in the Hades does the legislative branch develop some type of criminal charges bring criminal charges against somebody? That's not the business of the legislative branch.
Right.
To bring
That's right. They have no power to do so.
To bring charges against somebody, you have to go through the executive branch. You have to go through law enforcement. This is the Department of Justice. Well, they've already done two impeachments on this guy. And now you want to bring some type of level of criminality, and you're not allowing during your investigation, quote unquote, anybody to provide any type of evidence contrary to what you're putting out there. Screw you. Nobody cares about your little witch hunt. What people do care about is this abject, obvious abuse of power that is going on today, where you have like I said, a two-tier justice system. This is what angers people, where they cannot stand to see these elitists in our country, a country where everybody is supposed to be treated equal. These elitists getting off where they're above the law. This is what angered so many people about Hillary Clinton. Everybody knows that she illegally withheld information about that server that had confidential and classified information. It wasn't in a SCIF. It wasn't in a secured site. Everybody knew that. But nobody did a doggone thing about it. Why? Well, it's Hillary Clinton. So when we look at what's going on here, these suspicious activity reports that I just showed you, these suspicious activity reports are reports that are made to the Department of Treasury when there's suspicious activity in the transaction with foreign governments or foreign agents. Hunter Biden and his brother, or Joe's brother, have over 150 of these things on them. The average individual might have 1, 2, or a corporation dealing overseas. They have 150. Now, here's the worst part about it. Congress is not allowed to look at what those reports say. They are, according to this according to this report, says that the Treasury Department is restricting access to over 150 suspicious activity reports on Hunter Biden amid explosive new revelations coming from Biden's laptop from hell and his iPhone. Now, let me play this clip for this guy. Where is it? Where did it go? There was it this guy here? Senator Ron Johnson. Let me take off the volume. I got the wheel of death, but it should come up here in just a second. Ron Johnson, who's a senator, is talking about Hunter engaging in human trafficking. Have a listen.
Hunter Biden and Jim Biden have received over 150 suspicious activity reports. That would probably put them at the top of the list of anyone in America. And that's no exaggeration. You can ask any banker that. Prior to Joe Biden becoming president, members of Congress could request from the Treasury Department a list of people that had suspicious activity reports. Joe Biden went in and changed the rule to where Congress can no longer request suspicious activity reports from the Treasury Department.
Okay. Does that sound right to anybody?
Whoa, that's treasonous, and that's dictator. It's a dictator.
Okay. So Congress is supposed to provide oversight of the executive branch.
Yep.
The Treasury Department is part of the executive branch. The Treasury Department gets reports like this that are supposed to be made public information. And now you have the President of the United States restricting that, not only not making it public information, but restricting the legislative branch, which is supposed to provide oversight over the executive branch, from getting that information.
That's treasonous to our laws.
Would you call him? You said he was a tyrant. This is what tyrants
treasonous
do.
And a tyrant, a dictator, and he's treasonous into our own laws. I hope they get him then.
Figure the odds. We have a two-tier justice system.
No, we don't.
Wow, that was ranking member James Comer on with me on Mornings with Maria over on Fox Business on Wednesday, exposing the Treasury Department's new rule that restricts Congress's access to suspicious activity reports, including the more than 150 related to Hunter and Jim Biden's foreign business transactions. My next guest has been investigating this potential influence peddling, and in September of 2020 released an in-depth report on the Biden family's financial transactions with oligarchs in China tied to the Communist Party.
Okay, now pay attention to that last part. Oligarchs in China tied to the Communist Party. Now listen to what this senator, I think his name was Ron Johnson, I think his name is, what he has to say about this. You have Hunter Biden dealing directly with the Chi-Coms. And nobody says anything about this. He's personally benefiting in the millions of dollars from the Chi-Coms. You know, the Chi-Coms that steal our intellectual property, that are trying to destroy our economy, is trying to buy up all of our farmland for their own personal... a country that is an obvious competitor with the United States at every level in the world, economically, socially, militarily. And we're playing games with, or we're playing ball with these people? Are you kidding me? Listen to what she says. Or what he says. Come on, you.
As in Russia and in the Ukraine. Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson sits on the Senate Foreign Relations and Homeland Security Committees. Good morning, Senator. Thanks very much for being with us. I want to get your take on these 150 suspicious reports. What are these suspicious reports? Why would they be suspicious? What triggers that? And what do we know about them?
Well, the Treasury Department enlists banking institutions to help them notify or recognize potential money laundering and other illegal and illicit financial transactions. And these are very sensitive reports. Again, suspicious does not necessarily mean criminal. And so they have to be handled sensitively. Our own report relied on what we refer to as Treasury records. But the fact of the matter is Hunter Biden was well aware of the fact that his activities were red flags, and certainly could have.
So listen to this part. Hunter Biden knows that his paid transactions that go through financial institutions, transactions buying prostitutes, are going to raise red flags. The the son of the president, who is now the president of the United States, is out purchasing prostitutes, engaging in human trafficking, pedophilia, and here you have him having his accounts red flagged. He's concerned about this. Oh, they're going to catch me because I'm using money to buy prostitute. What in the hell is going on here? Why isn't anybody arresting this guy?
Triggered
because they're investigating. They're investigating. Don't you get that? They're investigating. And they're going to run out the clock when the statute of limitations run out. And then 3 months afterwards, they're going to say, oh, we have enough evidence to charge him. But unfortunately, we can't.
It's about, again, this is information off of his own laptop, off of the iCloud backup of his iPhone. But he was highly concerned about his payments that he was making to non-resident individuals who appeared to be connected to a Eastern prostitution or human trafficking ring, that those were going to flag those types of transactions. And of course, we're seeing that Joe Biden apparently paid for at least $30,000 to $100,000, maybe unwittingly, but he was continuing to funnel money into Hunter Biden. So,
okay, the president of the United States. Okay, let's hold on. Let's just back up here just for a second. If my son is having some type of financial problems, I'm going to do everything I can to help him out. I'm going to keep him above water. I am. But if these financial problems are caused through illegal or illicit activity, we're going to fix that problem first before I come in and I help him out financially. So if this is caused because he's a crackhead, so we're going to address his crackheadedness first. If he's got a what's the categorization where he's a sex addict? He's a sex addict and he's always buying prostitutes. We're going to fix that also. But look at the amount of money. This is how money means nothing to the president of the United States. $100,000. He sends this son of his $100,000 for him to shore up his finances. $100,000. Let's get back to this. Come on, get over here.
The fact of the matter is Hunter's computer is a treasure trove of information. And my concern about the way the Justice Department is using suspicious activity reports is they'll certainly use them against Republicans, but we don't have equal justice. We have a two-tier justice system.
Exactly.
One that will treat with kid gloves or cover up for Democrats and their powerful friends, the elite, and the rest of Americans.
Okay, again, think about this. If this was Donald Trump's kids, you don't think for a second that the Justice Department would be 3 feet deep in every single one of his son's financial businesses transactions, indicting, subpoenaing, interviewing, investigating, interrogating people? You think for a second that would not happen? Again, it isn't just a two-tiered system socially where you have this elite class of people and you have us common folk, but you also have one that is focused on defending and shielding Democrats from justice, and the other one for Republicans. And we see that today with Steve Bannon, who was an advisor to the president, and that economic advisor guy, whoever was handcuffed and put in leg irons in an airport because they won't deal with a congressional committee. This is nuts, folks. This is the peasants grabbing pitchfork type stuff. This is how revolutions start, when they see how unfair and unequitable all of this is.
And I think we're seeing that big time with Hunter Biden and all of his very suspicious transactions that certainly Senator Grassley and I, we have the actual bank records now. We've shown those on the Senate floor that show highly suspicious activity that I don't believe this Justice Department is doing enough to investigate and potentially prosecute.
I mean, will we ever see the details of Hunter Biden has been up to all of these years? I know that if you're reelected and the GOP wins the majority in November, you plan to investigate Hunter's payments to what appears to be an Eastern European trafficking ring.
Okay, listen to this, folks. An Eastern European human trafficking ring, meaning they are taking little girls, stringing them out on drugs, and then trafficking these little girls, these young women, to pieces of crap like Hunter Biden for big dollars.
What do you want to see, and what do we know about this?
Well, again, first of all, the laptop is revealing an awful lot. It's not being covered by the mainstream media, who are complicit in all of this, that are covering up for the Bidens. They got him elected, a guy who campaigned from his basement, so they continue to cover up. But we all already know an awful lot. I think the American people deserve the truth in this, because Joe Biden is certainly compromised. I heard your last segment there talking about Joe Biden's soft on China policy.
Okay, here's where he gets into how why this matters to us. I mean, I could care less that Hunter Biden's a crackhead. I really could care less. I could care less that Hunter Biden gets his jollies off of exploiting little girls. I care for those girls, and I want to see pieces of trash like that prosecuted to the full extent of the law. But I don't care about him. I really don't. He's demonstrated, and this is where I was, where I put in the show notes. We were talking about parenting skills. How can you, as a parent, allow things to get so bad for one of your children? What kind of parent are you, Joe, Jill, where you're going to allow your child to become a meth head or a crackhead for years, costing hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then engage in prostitution with little girls? Pictures that we have now on his laptop. What type of parent are you that allows this? What type of parent are you? His sister, Joe's other daughter, she had a diary. Think about this. She had a diary. She's in a halfway house. Why? Well, because she's a meth head too. Don't you see? She's got a substance abuse problem. So she's getting her act together, and she leaves her diary in this halfway house. It's found by a lady. The lady sells it to Veritas, James O'Keefe over at Project Veritas. Well, O'Keefe looks at it and goes, "Oh my gosh, we got a problem here. You know, I can't have possession of this," because it talks about how she's a sex addict and how she used to take showers with her dad. Who takes showers with your little girl?
Oh, geez.
Oh God, it's so sick. And with this Project Veritas, O'Keefe is put in. They go and they went and got a search warrant for his place.
High crimes. High crimes.
If this is not something that should enrage everybody, I don't know what else would. If this does not get you pissed off, I don't know what. I mean, to the point where you have lost all confidence in your government. The only hope that we have is that one of the houses, hopefully both of the houses in the legislative branch, will be able to soon provide some type of oversight to this out of control executive branch. They are enabling.
Here's the problem, though. The only thing you're going to get is hearings. Okay? There will be no prosecution. Only thing you're going to get out of this is hearings, more hearings. And true, okay, they will expose all the crap and all the dirt. Okay? The problem is, none of it will be by that time, because they've solved none of it will be prosecutable. Okay, and if anything is prosecutable, you'll get a slap on the wrist. He'll get make a deal, pay some fines, whatever, and that'll be that. Okay. No, this was a selling out of America. Dude, I agree with all of you. High crimes and misdemeanors. No, this was, oh my God, this is, I mean, seriously, everything they falsely accused Trump of, they were actually doing it. Okay.
Well, this is
in
what
your
we call
face.
projection. They're projecting their own
Exactly.
illegalities onto Trump is what they're doing. I get that.
Right.
Thank you, Dragon. Dragon showed up later. Go ahead.
But either way, if you're expecting the swift hand of justice to come down, and let's face it, let's say even if this stuff was prosecutable by the time, okay, these things took over, okay, Joe Biden is not going to see a day in prison, okay, because he's senile.
Well, if you put him in prison, he wouldn't even know where the hell he is to begin with, so it's not a big deal.
Exactly. I guarantee you. He'll come in wearing an oxygen mask. Oh, like a regular mobster. Okay.
Just put him in a nursing home.
Hunter Biden.
Well, what needs to happen to him is he needs to be impeached, censured, or something needs to happen. They need to take that Merrick Garland over the Department of Justice and impeach his butt. They need to go over to the Department of Defense with that. What's his name? Ash, whatever the hell his name is. Impeach him, throw him out, and they need to start doing their job. This is what they need to be running. The American people are fed up.
That's
now, whether they go to jail or not, whether Hunter goes to jail or not, I really don't care, to be honest with you. I could care less.
Well, that's what I was getting to. That's what I was getting to. Those that covered it up, those that slow walk this stuff.
Those are the ones that need to go to jail. Yes.
They are that need to go to prison for a very long time.
How young are these girls?
For a very long time, but when they get out, huh? Well, okay.
How young are these girls?
Supposedly there is some very young, but again,
14,
that's
15.
not the main part.
Oh, geez.
That's not the main part. The main part is the money, all the money. Okay?
Oh yeah, because it's being taken away from us.
No, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Biden. No, this dude flew on Air Force 2. This is documented in the email. Send out emails. Hey, I'm on Air Force 2, swinging by with Pop or Dad. Okay, would like to meet you. We're going to be at this restaurant. So he's selling the influence. So these corrupt businessmen would show up at this restaurant. They get their photo op, okay, with Hunter and Joe Biden, okay, and they would give him $100,000 or $1 million or whatever, okay, all right, and that's in some kind of Ponzi scheme thing. He had no idea what he was doing, and honestly, there are cases where he contacted a couple people, like in Mexico, and he was a con man, okay? And there are cases or emails where he's not begging for cash. He's like, hey, I was on Air Force 2, I sent you you flew to Mexico City, but you didn't stop by the restaurant. And these emails are going unanswered. In other words, he was providing stuff that he could get influence. He could get this, okay? The only thing he was selling is a photo op for $100,000, $1 million, or whatever with Joe Biden, the vice president. And these people that he was selling was crap, okay? So they started ignoring him, okay? So no. He is a con man. He's a huckster. And it was encouraged by Joe Biden, his brother, and his sister, okay? And they were collecting. They were getting their cut. Now, here's the thing. This is an awful lot of money. Where did the money go? It all didn't go up Hunter's nose. It all didn't go into prostitutes. If this money went somewhere, okay? Where did this money go? It didn't all go to Joe Biden. So who was Joe Biden giving their fair share to? You see what I'm saying? This became, I believe, the Democrats' slush fund, where Hunter Biden raked in all the cash, brought in all the cash, and they chopped it up amongst themselves. Okay, and said, hey, here's $100,000 for you, $100,000 for me. You know what I mean? Okay, that's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah, no wonder they're not talking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. They were all in on it.
talking about this tonight just gets it just hurts my heart to think about
Yes.
how we have a commander in chief, how we have a president so compromised. And he's compromised. Why? Because number one, of his failings as a parent. His failings of a parent has resulted in him having this son who trying to finance his drug addiction, his sex addiction, all of these parties that he goes to and this lifestyle that he wants to enjoy, has engaged in influence peddling with his dad's knowledge. Oh, by the way, that came out today with that iCloud hack. They had, and this was Peter Ducey was asking it at a press conference today with whoever that lesbian that he has for a press secretary, a black lesbian. And the reason why I bring that up is because, well, she brings it up. I broke this glass anyway. And he pressed her on it. He said, look, the president said that he had never asked his son or spoken to his son or his brother about their international business dealings. And they have this phone call from the iCloud that clearly demonstrates that he told his son, he told Hunter, he says, look, I think you're in the clear on all this international stuff. So he had talked to him. So that makes him a liar, which I know nobody's surprised. And evidently lying as a politician is not a crime. But when we think about him trying to shield his son from prosecution, well, that is a crime.
Yes.
If you are interfering with investigations, that is called obstruction of justice. William Jefferson Clinton was impeached for obstruction of justice, if you remember correctly, because he tried to thwart an investigation into what Monica Lewinsky was going to testify, because he suborned Pernicher. He told LaMonica to lie about it, and then he lied to a judge himself, so thus committing perjury himself, and then he tried to get the investigation derailed, so that got him impeached. Well, they didn't do anything to him because of that, and I don't think that they would do anything to Hunter because Joe Biden is not Donald Trump. If Donald Trump had done any of this, Liz Cheney would probably get reelected because she'd be leading the charge. But fortunately for us, she's going to get primaried and she's going to be forced out not soon enough. Okay.
For your mouth to God's ear on that one. But you know, we need to get away from what if Trump would have done this, or Trump Jr. would have done this, etc., and just say, what if I would have done this? What if I would?
Oh yeah.
To be honest with you, when I was a depraved reprobate, I would have loved to have been hanging out with Hunter Biden. You know what I mean? Dude, Hunter Biden would have been fun. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Okay.
But Rad, hold on, Rad. Let me just add one thing to that.
Huh?
You are a decent man. You are a Christian man, and this is why I say
this is true.
Biden is indicative to how the United States has lost its soul. When we tolerate as a country reprobates like this, and what they did, obviously what they do, and some of the most heinous and disgusting things, engaging in those illicit drug use, engaging in prostitution, engaging in human trafficking with minor girls, and we don't do anything about it, and the mainstream media is quiet about all this, we've lost.
Oh, here's a funny thing. Okay, so there's a clip. I should do this if I ever get my computer working again, where it's an overlay. Joe Biden holds up a quarter or a nickel or a dime or whatever when he's passing his Joe Biden crime bill, where he says, if you possess this amount of crack cocaine, you go to prison for 5 years, mandatory. Mm-hmm. The judge has no say-so in it. That's what you're going to prison for. Well, what is Hunter doing during this time that his dad is the VP, that he passed the Biden crime bill? He's chopping up over like 2 to 3 grams of crack cocaine. Okay? In other words, he was in possession well over what Joe Biden was putting the black people in prison for possession of their cocaine. That's what we call the Biden white supremacist privilege. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's sad that they're going to go ahead and do that to the rest of society, regardless of race. But it most certainly affected African Americans disproportionately. And yet he wants to say that, well, if you ain't, what did he say in the campaign? If you ain't black,
if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. But yet he's going to disproportionately punish them. But yet at the same time, when his son is doing things that are exponentially worse, and then we're all supposed to go, oh, we don't care. We completely ignore it. The man just needs to go. He just needs to go. All right, folks.
Anyway, sorry.
We're going to go ahead and call it quits for the night. These political shows, I don't know if I can take them, to be honest with you.
I think it needs to be done, though, Eric.
I know.
Really, because there's a lot more things happening. That we. I mean, to speak for our country right now. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's just me, I guess.
No, Christians absolutely, I hear you. Absolutely I hear you. Must discuss this because if we don't, I mean, the issue is sin, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, exactly.
We have a man with dementia who doesn't know what is going on, and we have his son who was a disgusting pervert to his children, and they are now in that boat, and they're suffering. Find Christ. That's the best solution. Find Christ.
Can I end it on this? Did you ever think that somewhere in the United States of America, there is a little girl who has a father that's a crackhead, a mother that's a stripper, and the father is the president of the United States of America? Did you ever think that? Because that's what we have right now. Okay.
Well, I mean, as a grandfather, I think about how much I love my grandchildren and the connection we have. And I think about Joe Biden and his relationship. Well, hold on a second. And Joe Biden's relationship to this grandchild that he has now through Hunter, who he'll never be able to see. And I cannot imagine that. But then again, when you have somebody like Hunter Biden, and this is the type of lifestyle that he lives, and I as a parent are facilitating that, well, then I as a parent would be a piece of crap, period. Okay, who else has something for the cause before we close out? Going once. Darcy.
I was trying not to say this, but I can't wait for that hair sniffer to get out of the White House.
I appreciate you saying that. Anybody else?
Just let's go, Brandon. Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah. Issa has unmuted himself. Issa is running for public office. What are you running for, Issa?
I'm looking into like public school board of education. That's where I'm going to go first, and then see what goes from there. You know what I mean? I look like I'm going to have some supporters, and I appreciate all of you. So thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's anything we can do, let us know. We'll plug you.
Appreciate you.
Yep. Okay. Again, everybody, I think I thank you for coming this evening and sharing your evening with us and discussing and engaging. Even though we don't agree completely on what we discussed tonight, at least we can agree. We can agree that what's going on in our country today is a decay, and we need to what is it? First what book talks about? Well, we need to pray and humble ourselves so God will hear our country. Was that Chronicles? First Chronicles 7:14.
2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face, then I will hear from heaven and I will heal their land. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that, Connie.
Amen. Yeah, that rose in me all the time. I tell Ronald that all the time. If my people.
Yeah. And this is a woman that memorizes scripture. God bless you for that. I can't memorize.
Oh yeah, I hated to read. You know, I used to work for State Farm. I used to have to, you know, tell them about life insurance, health insurance, and I hated to read. But when I got saved, God gave me the ability to read the Bible. I dissected it, and I just love it. So thank you.
Yeah, absorb it. God bless you for it. All right, folks, we will see you Sunday. Sunday. Talk about politics. Chloe Waked is going to be on, and we're going to talk Roe v. Wade and abortion. Oh gosh.
Yeah, that Biden wrote a executive order. How is that going?
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, but by the way, you know that story? You know that story that they've been telling, the 10-year-old, whatever, in Ohio had to be taken to Indiana? That is completely not true. Completely not true. Well, if it is true,
shocked, right?
then that, if it is true, then that provider needs to be prosecuted because she did not report a rape. She did not report child abuse. So
and that's probably why they're probably walking it back because of that. People realize the ramifications. And Joe, who has dementia, didn't realize what he was talking about.
Exactly. As soon as I heard that, I'm like, no, that doesn't sound right. That don't pass the smell test. But either way, totally fake, total BS. There is no report of a crime. There is no report of a rape of a 10-year-old child. There is no report of any of this in either Indiana or Ohio. No, totally made up. And if it is true, then that provider, any provider that provided care, okay, who knew about this and did not report this, is in violation of the law. Okay, it needs to be prosecuted. You know what I mean? So either way,
it sounds like an Ibn Farouk type stabbing, where there's no.
Oh yeah,
there's no report of a crime.
Find out what happened with that?
I don't know.
Did we ever find out?
I don't know. I'll have to. Oh, we're gonna try to get God Logic on next Tuesday too. By the way.
Oh, he's awesome. Hey,
awesome.
I didn't look it up, but I think I forgot to add that that we would turn from our wicked ways in 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Right. Well,
so I don't think I said that.
Reference, but we need to pray for our country and and seek God's face, especially when we see this debauchery going on at the highest levels.
Yeah. And be the shepherds.
Sure.
You know, be the shepherds. I mean, we're not doormats. We're not doormats. We are shepherds, and we will protect the flock. We will protect our country. And there you go.
To show them the goodness of God and God's love, God's laws. So
and the power of God, because he's not a he's not a prostitute man in heaven. You know, he means what he says, and he says what he means. And he wants us to walk in his power. Thank you.
He's not a meth head either.
Exactly.
All right. God bless you. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. We'll see you this Sunday on the Crescent Discussion Group. Amen. And amen.